would come up here. I'm like, well, there's something else to happen. So, and Mike, I'll let you, as you speak, if you want to just give a little bit more about your background. But y'all heard how excited I was after I met Mike at one of the Highland Lakes Crisis Network's meetings for the foster initiative in our community. And I tell you, he lit a fire in all of us, and he's really wanting to bring his initiative out to the Hill Country. He'll talk to us about that. But this is Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And I thank our Lord for putting it on the big international heart, but for his to have it land in the Capitol Hill area, the Hill Country area. So it's all yours. Thank you. And if you'll stand in front of that, I think it will be happy.
Okay. All right. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come in and talk about Sleep in Heavenly Peace. It's truly a passion of mine. And as she said, my name is Mike Perkins, and I am the chapter president and founder of the Austin chapter of Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And I'm also the CSL chapter support lead for the 16 chapters in Texas. So that kind of gives me the end to get the chapter started up here. I'm going to try to stream a video. It's about 3 minutes long. It just kind of gives you a really good overview of what happens, and can everybody kind of see it? I'm going to move away from there just for a second. That's not what I wanted to do. I would like to leave. All different ages.
I turn the camera, please.
No, it's all blue lumber.
People apply to get this.
I'll forward you all those details. Now I'll go back to the camera. So SHP was started by a gentleman by the name of Luke Mickelson in Twin Falls, Idaho in 2012. like most charities, he started it in his garage, and it was around Christmas time, and he tells the story that his kids were just kind of sitting around moping, talking about, what they weren't going to get, what they were going to get. So Luke just said, okay, everybody out in the garage, we're going to go build a bed and take it to a family so y'all can see what other people are going through. So a project was started with the building of one bed and for a single family, and that developed into something a whole lot more. With the wood left over from that first bed, he built another bed. And Luke thought, who else could benefit from this bed? So a single post on Facebook sparked an unexpected response. What Luke thought would just be an avalanche of bed requests turned into a litany of local people wanting to help and volunteer. So the generosity of these volunteers was so surprising that it was no longer a search for one who needed a bed, but a question of how many beds that they could provide. So we fast forward to 2021, and there's currently 281 chapters in the United States, Canada, and Bermuda. So his dream is to take it worldwide, and he'll do it. Organization-wide since 2012, and this is kind of misleading, there's been 89,539 beds built involving over 137,000 volunteers. But this really did not peak until 2017, and you'll see why in a minute. So my personal journey starting an SAP chapter began, believe it or not, in December of 2018. And I was sitting around the house, I believe it was kind of cold, misty, and I came across a Facebook post or Facebook videos on Facebook Live, and they were by Mike Rowe and called Returning the Favor. And what he did was he would go around the country looking for do-gooders. And these were people that were doing awesome things to make other people's lives better. And I began binge watching it and came across a video about Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And I had no idea what it was. I'd never heard of it, knew nothing about it. And I watched it twice, and both times my eyes just continued to sweat. I don't know what was happening. And so I asked my wife, I said, take a look at this, see what you think, and, we'll go from there. And so she watches it. She had the same effect, and she said, we'll talk about it. Well, as most of us men would do, who listen to everything our wives tell us, I filled out the application. We went to Twin Falls, Idaho for training, and we had our first build on June 1st of 2019. And to my knowledge, we still have never had that talk, but I'm sure it's coming. So we built 80 beds from June after we got back from Twin Falls through December in 2019. In 2020, we built 72 beds, and that was also done while we were shut down from February through the end of almost October. I think we had our first build October 23rd or somewhere around there. So we built 72 beds. And thus far in 2021, we've built 161 beds. So there's just so many great charities that provide clothes, meals, and toys to families. And as wonderful as that is, there's very few of them that offer suitable beds and bedding. And we believe all children deserve a safe, comfortable place to lay their heads. And in Austin and the Hill Country, there's just too many boys and girls without a bed or even a pillow to sleep on. And a bed to us seems like such a small thing. And until you deliver it to a child who was sleeping on a couch or even the floor, delivering a bed to a child without one is one of our favorite parts of the process. And I mentioned I knew exactly where that video was when the music changed, and I could just feel the goosebumps going up my arms. And it's I wasn't going to talk about this, but I was speaking with a gentleman at Marble Falls High School about doing some builds, And during that conversation, out in Sunrise Beach, my phone always just breaks up, stops, starts, and there was a pause, and I'm like, hello, hello. And he starts clearing his throat, and he said, I'm sorry. He goes, I just get so passionate when I start talking about kids. And he was actually tearing up while we were just talking on the phone. So it just does something to you. So giving a child a bed isn't just about giving them a proper place to sleep. It's giving them a sense of safety, self-confidence, and a better night's sleep. And we have seen firsthand that it really is more than just a bed. We truly believe that providing a bed to a child improves both their physical and their mental well-being. And if a child needs a bed, we want to make sure that they get one. And our motto is no kid sleeps on the floor in our town. That's our town, that's your town, that's anybody's town. Being a part of the SHP family is just one of the most rewarding things that I've been a part of. Volunteers tell us all the time that the cutting, the sanding, the assembly of the community bed building is a time of uplifting camaraderie, but has a very sobering reality behind it. And we always say the bed building is fun. It brings everybody together. But if you want to get hooked, go on a delivery. Those kids, when you see those kids and you see the smiles and hear some of the stories, it's just unbelievable. I borrowed the following statement from another chapter president because it was so impactful and speaks not only to the kids we serve, but the volunteers that give their time so unselfishly to help these kiddos. And he says, which I can't believe nobody has come up with something like this before, that SHP stands for Sleep in Heavenly Peace, of course. But SHP isn't about sheets and headboards and pillows. It's about the stories, the hearts, and the people. And that right there, the stories, the hearts, and the people is just what it's all about. The generosity that we get is just unbelievable. And I could tell countless stories of families and kids that we've served. Recently, we had a mom submit an application to our chapter, and during the vetting process, her first question was how soon could she get beds for her kids? And she went on to say it's going to start getting cold soon, and I can't bear to see my kids sleeping on the cold floor any longer. And so during the vetting process, we try to figure as much out about the families as we can. And so we asked her where she was sleeping, and she stated on the floor next to my children. And she said, well, where I sleep does not matter. I just want to get my kids in beds. So, and then one of the most recent, in fact, it was the last delivery that I went on. We had a family with 4 kids that had just come off the streets due to homelessness. And when we finished assembling the beds, they just could not stop thanking us enough. And everybody had sweating eyes. It was just the most awesome thing. I mean, you looked in the house and there was a chair, there was a few things in the kitchen, and there was a case of bottled water, which, that's what they'd been drinking. And they were offering us their, what could be their last bottled water. I mean, obviously they were in an apartment, but just to let us have, of course, we all turned it down, but it's amazing. And then probably one of the ones that still gets me the most is when we delivered 6 beds, 3 bunk beds in a big room to a grandmother who had just taken in all 6 of her daughter's grandchildren. And she took them because she was battling drug addiction. And the kids knew, they knew if grandma had not done this, that they would have probably been separated and probably for good. So they were telling us the story. They were telling us different parts of it. And it's just unbelievable. Kids this age should not have all this stuff on their minds. It should be more about the fun and the play. And it's terrible. But so, the grandmother was so grateful. And it's amazing how much they express that to us, which we're the ones that should be just bringing them out because of what they're doing. And we try to express that every time. Just give them all the support we can. So each bed we build represents a child we are getting into a proper bed. Sometimes it's their first bed. Every build day, every board sanded and stained, represents something much bigger than ourselves. We are SHP, and my thing just went nuts. we are SHP, and we're a national organization answering a call to a very real and important need. And this is our word. It's not in the dictionary, but we're here to end child bedlessness. So the answer to your question, when we deliver a bed to a family, there is no cost to the family receiving the bed or the organization who might be requesting a bed for a family. It's 100% free. We serve kiddos in the age range of 3 to 17. And when we deliver a bed to a child, they receive a handmade wooden frame, a mattress, a sheet set, a bedspread, a pillow, and a pillowcase. So when we leave that house, that bed is made and ready to sleep in. Some of them look better than others. We have some military folks that do the crisp corners. Mine is usually just kind of stand back and say, okay, go for it. So some of the ways that we locate children in need is through foster agencies, churches, school counselors, resource officers, CPS, CASA, juvenile probation offices, and also individuals. If our list gets down low enough, we'll actually start putting things on Facebook, looking for people that are needing beds, next door, neighbor. Fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, we haven't had to do that. We've always had a consistent. Our list will stay around 70 pretty consistently. We did 24 deliveries last Saturday or Saturday week. And just from people talking about that, somebody popped up and put something on next door saying, hey, we just got beds delivered. We ended up with 19 new applications that night. So it's a never ending battle. So of course, naturally, none of this is possible without help from individuals, groups, and businesses in the communities we serve. And this comes in many forms, starting with providing volunteers for build days or deliveries, bedding and lumber donations, and of course, monetary donations. We're a 100% volunteer-based organization up until you get up to the main chapter. And I think now there may be 5 paid employees for 281 chapters. It's amazing. We have one of the best ratings on, I think it's GuideStar, if I'm right, that you can have. 90%, that's 90, of every dollar goes directly to the local chapter. For a nonprofit, that's pretty darn good. And so 100% of our funds to build and deliver beds comes from the local communities. Now, my wish would be to establish a chapter of SHP in Marble Falls, and to not only serve this area, but all the surrounding areas as well, such as Barnett, Lando, Kingsland, Granite Shoals, Cottonwood Shore, Sunrise Beach, and then all the other little pocket communities around here. So if you or anyone you know feels the calling to serve, I'm here to help get a chapter started. If anyone would like more information, starting a chapter, sponsoring a bill, helping with deliveries, or how to make a monetary or bedding donation, please don't hesitate to ask. Again, thank you for the opportunity to come in and talk about this. And if anybody has any questions.
Sponsoring the bill is what I really wanted you to talk about as well.
Okay.
Because we could sponsor a bill through your chapter, right?
Absolutely.
So explain how that works.
Okay, so to sponsor a build, the cost to build a bed is $250. And that the biggest cost, we used to pay about $48 for mattresses. We're now paying $98, and they're not going to go down. And that's when we can get them. Lumber costs have gone way up, but so that $250 sponsors the child with the bed, the mattress, the bedding, the whole 9 yards. So sponsoring a build, you can get individuals together, you can get businesses together, however it works. And what we will do is, depending on how many beds you want to build, normally we will have a build from around 8 to 12. We found that about 4 hours is the attention span of everybody, because it's not easy work. I mean, it's fun, but it's still a lot of work. And so when we bring a build to the community, we have about 24 different stations. And that's taking the bed or the lumber from cutting to sanding, and then it just goes through each individual station until you get to the end, and we dip it in steel wool and vinegar, and puts the stain color that you saw on those beds. So we've had builds with as many as 170 volunteers. You got to get real creative on how you get everybody something to do, down to where we've had just enough to fill the stations up. So we can do it a lot of different ways. Yes, sir.
Where typically would you do this?
We are blessed to have a warehouse in Austin. We have still churches and things that want to do it on their site. So we put everything in a trailer and take it to the site. We're 100% self-sufficient as far as power. We have generators that operate all of our tools. So we can do it in any parking lot. We can do it in a building, pretty much anywhere. We're just restricted by the weather for that day. That's one nice thing about being in Austin and having a warehouse that we have. I've got some great friends that are in the shopping center ownership business and brokers that I know, and they just kind of let us move around to vacant shopping centers as they get things leased. We move over to another one. So, but yeah, in any parking lot. I mean, that's where we were up until about 6 months ago. And we usually are there about an hour before, set everything up. Everybody shows up, and we start the build.
There's 5 of y'all, right? 5 or so key people that your staff that comes and they make sure we don't cut our fingers off.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have as many as 15 sometimes. The more the merrier.
But for your staff, you bring expert, your people, subject matter experts that teach us, that show us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have a core team. Obviously, I'm the president. I have a social media person, a bedding delivery person, just blanked out. Anyway, I've got 5 really close people to me, but then we also have a team of people that have been with us and continue to come with us, to where ideally you would like to have somebody at almost every station, or at least at every area that's familiar with it, so that we can just kind of instruct everybody and keep everybody moving along. But yeah, we furnish everything when we're here.
On Saturday, my daughter's in the Skills USA thing, and Mr. Vengus was telling me that the school is going to be building one.
Yeah,
We're actually going to try to all partner together.
Yes.
absolutely. And I did want to talk about that a little bit. I think he continues kind of push it to at the school in obviously his classroom. I'm afraid that it's going to logistically, we're going to run into issues with the school letting all these volunteers on campus. And I think if he wants to do one in his class, I'll be happy to do it. But if we want to do one separate, I think that's just kind of something we need to talk to him about and just see if his plan is to, because he's also talking about a Saturday now. Originally, he mentioned to me about a school day. But I think with the way times are, that getting on campus is probably going to take a lot of clearance before we can. My daughter and my wife and I attend, but Life Austin, I know they've got a great parking lot up there.
Well, Andy had talked about maybe over at his office when I first mentioned, but we will decide as a club if we want to do it. But I'm excited. And you don't have anything available till January, right, to do a build?
But I think just pushing it out that far is going to be necessary, just to be able to get everything together. We're doing a build in November in Austin. Leonard has talked about maybe late January.
We can talk.
But yeah.
Just so they know it's not like next week.
No.
I think we have another question. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I just I have a building. Oh, awesome. We're gonna press play.
Do you accept donations of existing beds or bed frames?
We cannot accept any bed frames, and just because of our insurance, we have to assemble the beds that we build, and we can't just take beds to a location and drop them off. We have to assemble them, and as far as bedding goes, it has to be new in the package bedding. Whatever the certification is for beds and stuff, we are right to the point of not being able to package them and sell them. We have every certification as far as, that's why we cannot change one thing about the way we build the beds, how we assemble the beds. The only time they change that is when they do a disaster relief build. They will go down into these communities where there's been hurricanes or floods or something, and take 300 or 400 beds from different chapters, and they will allow people to come pick them up, but you have to sign a certain release form in order to do that, and you're given a set of instructions on how to do it. But yeah, I did a thank you. I have a second. I have my SAP trailer is up at my house at the lake. I was hauling some stuff back and forth, and I was sitting at home, and the doorbell rings, and I'm thinking, you know, UPS has already been here. Nobody else comes around here. Who is it? So I walked to the door, and there's a gentleman there, and rough guy, baseball cap, work clothes, and he says, "Is that your SAP trailer out there?" And I said, "Yeah, is there a problem?" He goes, "So y'all really like get kids off the floor or bring them inside and put them in beds and stuff?" And I go, "Yeah." Reaches in his pocket, and he hands me $100 bill. This guy could not afford $100, and it's just like, you know, I was just sitting there going, thank you. I mean, what else do I say? So
Mike shared that whenever they help with the build, frequently they get a lot of money donated from the Lowe's and different places. So we will have to help generate some of the funds, but he feels very confident that the money shows up to get it done.
Yeah.
So
And Lowe's is a big supporter. They've been a supporter from day one. They give us about $1 million a year in grants and stuff. So as soon as we get something together, I'll go talk to the Lowe's manager here. And I think Leonard said he knows it pretty well too. So yeah, they donated a lot of lumber to us. They donate tools to us. So I think we can definitely get
anything
this.
else for Mike? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.